Capítulo 6. ¿Cómo pasas el día? Learning strategy. Study with a partner. Study with a friend or form a study group. Not only will you benefit when someone in your group understands a concept that you may have difficulty with, but you can also increase your own understanding by teaching others who need extra help. Group study will provide you with more opportunities to speak and listen to Spanish as well. And some of the things you will be able to do after completing this chapter are talk about your daily routine, talk about sports, talk about when and how often you do things, and finally, discuss events that occurred in the past. Okay, now we're going to go through the vocabulario.
El despertador. La cara. La boca. El pelo. La nariz. Los dientes. El pecho. El estómago. El muslo. La pierna. La rodilla. El tobillo. El pie. Los dedos del pie. La cabeza. El ojo. La oreja. El cuello. Los dedos. La mano. El hombro. La espalda. El brazo. El codo. El cepillo. El cepillo de dientes. La pasta de dientes. El jabón. La toalla. El champú.
Muy bien. This is here, ¿cómo pasas el día? How do you spend your day, right? And then we see things that are done on a daily routine. Okay, and now we're going to hear the vocabulario for the verbos.
Verbos. En el baño. Afeitarse. Arreglarse. Bañarse. Cepillarse. Ducharse. Lavarse. Maquillarse. Peinarse. Secarse. En el dormitorio. Acostarse. Despertarse. Dormirse. Estirarse. Levantarse. Ponerse. Ponerse la ropa. Quitarse. Quitarse la ropa. Sentarse. Vestirse.
Very good. I would like to point out that these verbs are reflexive. So do you see how they end in SE? That makes them reflexive, which really means the action is being done to oneself. So to shave, it's if the person says me afeito, it's going to mean I shave myself. Notice it's to fix oneself or to get ready, to bathe, obviously oneself, to take a bath, to brush oneself, to shower oneself. So notice that there's still AR verbs or maybe IR verbs, or it could be an ER verb, right? But in addition to their normal endings, there's the SE on all of them, and that's because they're called reflexive verbs. You're going to see how we conjugate them later on in another section but on this chapter. Okay, so here's more vocabulario.
Palabras adicionales. El cuerpo. Divertirse. Tarde. Temprano. Verse.
Muy bien, and here we have something that is a variation we do have a lot of these depending on the country. So typically, el pelo is used in some countries where el cabello is used in others. For me, el cabello is the one I used growing up. Okay. All right. So something we want to pay attention to when we're talking about, for example, especially routine activities that we say first or next or before or after. We're going to be seeing these expressions, antes de and después de, before, after. And just a word of caution is that when you use them, these words are going to be followed by the infinitive in Spanish. And even though they're translated as ing forms. So your first inclination would be maybe of adding the ando or yendo to the verb in Spanish, but that would be incorrect because you would be trying to say, well, if it's eating, like ing in English is equivalent to that, then I'm going to use a verb. So that would be incorrect. What you want to do is use the infinitive, right? The infinitive form of the verb. Antes de comer, before eating, or después, I'm going to use the same verb. Después de comer, after eating. Antes de comer, I'm going to use a different color since I drew there. Voy a ir de compras. Before eating, I'm going to go shopping. So my next verb is obviously conjugated. Okay? But the point is that refrain from putting a verb that it's ing, well, the equivalent of ing in Spanish. You're going to use the infinitive to follow antes de or después de. Okay? All right. And then here you're going to go to activities that you need to do for practicing. ¿Qué parte del cuerpo es? Completa las descripciones. So you want to find a body part that fits those descriptions. 1. Está entre la cabeza y los hombros y sirve para mover la cabeza. 2. Tenemos 2 y cada uno tiene 5 dedos. Sirven para caminar y bailar. 3. Usamos para hablar y para comer. 4. Tenemos 2 en la cara para ver. 5. Está en el brazo, entre la mano y el hombro. 6. Tenemos 2. Una está en el lado izquierdo de la cabeza y la otra en el lado derecho. 7. Yo tengo largo, rubio y rizado. 8. Es una parte que conecta la pierna con el pie. Muy bien. And then in this activity, you want to tienen que indicar cuál es diferente of the set. So we have los pies, las manos, el cuello. Y expliquen por qué. So if it's your turn, this would be a set going horizontally, right? So the row, los pies, las manos, el cuello. So, ¿cuál es diferente? ¿Los pies, las manos o el cuello? And if you say one of them, you have to say ¿por qué? Okay, muy bien. And let's go to the next activity. ¿Cuándo? Trabaja con un compañero y túrnense para explicar en qué situaciones una persona tiene que hacer las siguientes actividades. So, for example, ducharse con agua fría. So, to shower with cold water. So, if you're estudiante 1, you want to ask ¿por qué? Why? Una persona, a person, tiene que ducharse con agua fría. So, you're going to be using these expressions here, right? And then, if you're estudiante 2, why does the person has to shower with cold water? Come up with something that fits, right? One explanation is tiene mucho calor. That would be perfect. So notice that we gotta use the structure. We're not conjugating this verb because we haven't learned yet how to conjugate our reflexive verbs. But because we have the expression tiene que, has to, we know that the verb that follows is an infinitive. So we are able to use it. right? And so again, if I were to do número uno, and I was estudiante uno, I would say, ¿por qué una persona, why does a person, tiene que, and then I would use the verb just like it's here in infinitive, sentarse al frente de la clase, and then estudiante dos will give me a response, an answer to that, okay? And so forth. Acostarse muy tarde, vestirse con ropa muy vieja, estirarse, levantarse muy temprano, afeitarse las piernas, dormirse a las 6, cepillarse los dientes. Muy bien. And then let's look at this note for the vocabulario. In some Latin American countries, el dentrífico is used rather than la pasta de dientes to say toothpaste. That's true for me. We use el dentrífico. In Mexico, rasurarse is used to say to shave rather than afeitarse. And bañarse refers to both showering and bathing. So I use as well rasurarse instead of afeitarse, but both are correct. And this is the one that you are learning to use, afeitarse. And bañarse, keep in mind, if someone says, me bañé esta mañana, doesn't mean they took a bath. They could have very well could mean they showered. Okay, so it's good to be aware of this dialectal uses that they don't always translate exactly from one language to another, because remember, language is tied to culture and how people express ideas and thoughts. All right, here's something to share with you, expresiones idiomáticas. Una expresión idiomática es una frase que la gente de una cultura usa metafóricamente para comunicar algo. Por ejemplo, la frase, cuesta un ojo de la cara, right? Significa que algo cuesta mucho dinero. Si una persona dice, hoy en día, la gasolina cuesta un ojo de la cara, significa que la gasolina cuesta mucho. See, it costs an eye of the face. That wouldn't make any sense, but this is a idiomatic expression. ¿Qué cuesta un ojo de la cara? Yes, you can tell by his looking at the receipt. Okay, so let's see more expresiones. Echarle una mano, to give a hand, ayudar, right? Mi familia tiene un restaurante y yo ayudo los fines de semana. Le echo una mano a mi familia en su restaurante. So it's conjugated, hecho, to the yo form. Una mano a mi familia. So it's very good for us to become familiar with these idiomatic expressions, because you're gonna hear them when you hear a Spanish speaker talk. So, no pegar ojo, to not be able to glue one's eyes shut. That would not make any sense if we translate it literally, but that means no dormir. Hablar por los codos, speak through one's elbows. It doesn't make sense either. So we need to take it not contextually, but what it means. Hablar mucho. Hablas mucho, hablas por los codos. Someone says that to you, that means you talk a lot. Dar la cara, to give one's face. Enfrentar una situación, right? To face a situation. Ser codo. If someone says, eres codo, that doesn't mean you are an elbow. That means no quieres gastar tu dinero. Like you don't like to spend your money. No tener pie ni cabeza. Esta idea no tiene pie ni cabeza. To lack feet and head. Well, it means it's ilógico. La idea es ilógica. No tener pelos en la lengua. Not to have hairs on one's tongue. That really doesn't make any sense if someone tells you that and you take it literally, right? But what they're trying to say is, dices las cosas de una forma muy directa, right? You're very direct. You're brutally honest. So, okay. So, uno, ¿usas expresiones idiomáticas con frecuencia? So that's a question for you. So come up with an answer. So think about these expressions and think about the ones you use in your own language. I wouldn't ask you in Espanol because obviously you're learning, but this means in your native language, which is English. Okay. 2. ¿Piensas que las personas mayores usan estas expresiones con más frecuencia que los jóvenes? What do you think? And now, obviously, I'm not expecting you to tell me in English, so do your best. You need to give me answers in español. That's the whole point, right? And then 3. En tu opinión, ¿es importante aprender estas expresiones? ¿Por qué? So, what's your opinion? What do you think about this? ¿Crees que es importante aprender? ¿Y por qué? Muy bien, eso es todo.